Good morning, students. How are you? This is your second poetry lesson. I know I'm not in my classroom right now. I don't have that background right now because it was playing weird with my face today, and because I'm wearing a hat, it was just kind of funky. I didn't like how it looked. So anyways, you've seen my bedroom before, so here I am. Happy Wednesday. Hope you were doing well. It was great to see you on Tuesday and to hear from you and to hear some of your poems. I want to get right into our lesson for today. So in poetry, on Monday you were asked to make some observations, to go around your house for 10 or 15 minutes and to turn those observations into a minimum of 3 to 5 poems, okay? Today, you are going to write some more poems, at least 3 to 5 more, but we're going to focus on adding poetic elements into our poems, okay? So we're going to need to talk about poetic elements, okay? One, we need to remember that poetry does not look like other kinds of writing. You don't write a poem in sentences. You write poems in phrases or thoughts. You don't write poems in paragraphs, okay? You write them in verses or stanzas. In poetry, that line break, like where you start on the next line, that's called a line break, is really important because it acts like a comma or a period to give a pause or a stop as the reader is reading your poem. And poems really are meant to be read aloud, which is why I need you to get more used to reading your own poems out loud so you can hear things. As you are writing your poem, you should be thinking about how you are guiding your reader through the poem when you want to put those line breaks. Okay, when we're writing doing other kinds of writing, like a story, dialogue, we don't really think about line breaks unless we're at the end of a paragraph. We're like, oh, got to start a new line. It's a new paragraph. Oh, we're in dialogue. Somebody else is talking. We're starting. In poetry, every line is something you need to think about. Okay, so think about that's going to be one thing. So line break is important, is a very important poetic element in every poem. Now, some of you, as I heard on Monday, wrote some very short poems, okay? Like 3 lines or less. Now, well, a haiku, which is 3 lines, there are poems that are 3 lines. Unless you followed that specific format, I want you to push for more lines. Okay, and I want you to aim for at least 5 lines in each of your poems to write today. And that also means I don't want you to write any haiku. If you wrote any haiku on Monday, that's awesome, fantastic. But today I don't want you to write any haiku. I want you to push your thinking to be at least 5 lines or longer, okay? So let's review some of the poetic elements. First off, the list of poetic elements was on the poetry lesson number 1 that I posted on Monday, okay? I'll be posting poetic elements on today's lesson too. So here they are. These are the elements of poetry. Now, they're not the only elements of poetry, but it's going to be the ones we're going to focus on. So we see metaphor, and some of them we already know, okay? Where the metaphor is the comparison between 2 unrelated nouns without using like or as. So saying trees are Earth's hair. That's comparing trees to hair, which sounds really weird as I think about it, but that is a metaphor. A simile, the comparison between 2 unlike nouns using like or as. The wind swept the town like a broom. So there's the like, this is comparing wind and broom, okay? Rhyme, words that have the same ending sound. You probably know this: mat, cat, hat, splat, etc. Okay, so rhyme is the same ending sound. Now, kind of the opposite of rhyme is alliteration, with words that have the same beginning consonant sound. Now, it takes in a poem, just because 2 words have the same sound doesn't make it alliteration. You need at least 3 or more. For example, Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers, right? So tongue twisters. One of the reasons why we love tongue twisters and also why they're hard is because of the alliteration, okay? Repetition. repeating words, phrases, couplets, or even verses within a poem. So the rain fell down, down, down to the ground. Repetition can add to the rhythm, we'll talk about that, of a poem. Personification, giving human-like qualities to something that is not human. The legs of a table. If walls could talk, for example. Onomatopoeia, the formation of words that sound like or suggest the objects or actions named, like, you know, so you're making a word that is the sound, bang, clang, hiss, sizzle, whack. You know, those aren't other words, those are just the sounds. So that's onomatopoeia, okay? Rhythm, patterns of sounds we can measure or hear, okay? Now rhythm we're gonna get into. If you want to be a lot more specific about rhythm, you're going to have to start counting your syllables. And we're going to start doing that next week. So be ready for that. If you like limericks, then you know that there's a pattern in the sounds that adds to that rhythm. And that's one of the things that people love about limericks. And so rhythm can be very complex. Things that help with rhythm: rhyme helps, alliteration, repetition, those things definitely help to add to the rhythm of a poem, okay? So that's what we've just kind of done right here, okay? I actually encourage you to print out that page so you can have it as you are thinking about your poems, okay? Most poems, now, you know, so those poems, or sorry, those elements, you don't have to have those elements in every one of your poems, okay? In fact, you could have a poem that didn't have any of those elements, but most poems will have at least one, if not a few of them, okay? Poems do not have to rhyme, but they can. They do not have to have metaphors or similes, but they can. Don't try to force an element into your poem because you think you're going to need to in order to get credit, okay? It ends up making the poem sound worse, okay? But when you truly are thinking poetically and creatively, the higher level poems will have those elements, okay? Just like you can tell, I know some of you feel less confident right now about how you're writing poems. And if you were to read poems by Shel Silverstein or even William Shakespeare, you'll start seeing those elements and realize, oh, wow, yeah, these are good poems. What makes a good poem? Well, it's how effortlessly they use those elements. And so the more you write poems, the easier this is going to get. So before you start writing 3 to 5 more poems, which I want you to do today, what I want you to do is pull out those poems again from Monday, right? And we're going to look at them to see if you already put any poetic elements in them. Let's look at my examples. I'm just going to use 2 of them. So here's one of the first ones. Number 1, the purple sea separates the desks from the board. Students carefully float on it as they listen to the teacher. Luckily, we're all excellent swimmers. Now, was there a metaphor in there? Absolutely. I called the carpet a purple sea. Did I have a simile? Nope. There's no like or as. I mean, this as is there, but that's not I'm not using that to compare anything. Does it rhyme? Nope. Is there alliteration? Nope. Repetition, personification, onomatopoeia? No. So this is a simple poem. It has a metaphor. It's lovely. Let's try this one. Oh, sorry. I thought rhythm would have been on that other page. Let me see if I can. There, something like that. So now let's look at this one. Do you remember this one that I wrote? 2 numbered faces watch us every second, every minute, every hour of the day. Tick tock, tick tock. They mumble to us, helping to pass the time away. Is there a metaphor here? No. Is there simile? No. Rhyme? Yes. Day and away. Is there alliteration? Yes. The T sound, the tick tock, tick tock. Okay. Is there repetition? Yes. Every second, every minute, every hour. Is there personification? Yes, the clock's having faces and mumbling, and that's where some of you might have said, isn't there a metaphor because you're comparing the clock to a human? And the answer is no, I gave the clock human-like qualities, which is personification. Is there onomatopoeia? Yes, tick-tock, tick-tock. You're like, wait, so tick-tock, tick-tock can be alliteration and onomatopoeia? Absolutely. Rhythm? Yes. If you read these poems aloud like I did, I'm not going to say there's amazing rhythm in this poem, but there is more rhythm in this poem than there was in the first one. And it's because of that repetition and the alliteration and the rhyme that this one has a little bit more rhythm than the other one. If you don't believe me, go back and read this poem out loud and then read that poem out loud and see. I think you'll see for yourself. You're like, oh, yeah, this one sounds different. Okay. Again, you need to read poems aloud to really hear them. Okay. So now you do it. Go ahead and do this for your own poems that you wrote on Monday, for every single one of them. If you were really prolific and you wrote a lot, then awesome. This should be pretty easy. You're just, what does each one of your poems have? We're analyzing our own poems, okay? Then after you've done that, go walk around and get some more inspiration. I want you to write more poems today, a minimum of 3 to 5 poems, with each being at least 5 lines long, okay? So no more haiku, if any of you are writing that. And try to include at least one poetic element in each one of your poems, okay? You ready to share your poems on Thursday? Thursday will also be a great time to ask questions, and we'll talk some more. I don't know if I'm going to post another another video on Thursday, but we're definitely going to talk about poetry some more in our session. So I will see you in the morning. All right? Bye, guys. Good luck with your poems.